Hello, I study the far right, and welcome to what will probably be a multi-part series of book passages that have shaken me to my core. We're starting off strong today with Preparing for War by Bradley Onishi. This passage goes over these new national myths that are being created in the MAGA movement in the wake of January 6th. National myths often develop slowly over several generations, so that by the time they wield power over any of us as individuals, we are fuzzy on the details of the origin story. But in the space of a few short months, we watched the formation of a story in which MAGA Nation is playing the role of aggrieved citizens who had their country stolen from them. What we have witnessed since the 2020 election, and certainly since January 6, 2021, is myth-making in real time. If myths draw on a measure of reality, they aren't primarily about historical accuracy. Myths are preoccupied with the past and based on a desire to mobilize a vision for the present and create a prospect for the future. A myth shapes reality through ritual, which dramatizes its story and brings its adherents into collective participation. When Trump supporters took hold of the Capitol, temporarily halting the counting of the Electoral College votes, they brought the fiction down on the levers of government through temporary mob rule. But the enactment of the myth of the big lie did not stop when dusk fell on January 6th. In fact, January 6th, and the way it is being remembered, has given the myth of the stolen election the martyrs, sacred objects, and the rituals that any good myth needs to survive. January 6th made space for MAGA Nation to create a new American reality. The martyrs of the movement are people like Ashley Babbitt. Others are the January 6th rioters who are held in prison, called political prisoners by the right. He says, making martyrs out of the jailed rioters is strategic. Martyrs are the exemplars of myth. They are the figures who embody the virtues that the community must emulate in order to create their ideal world. Ashley Babbitt is now valorized as the first patriot martyr of the MAGA lost cause. She exemplifies the sacrifice necessary to take back the country. The jailed rioters are its political heroes, celebrated for their suffering at the hands of a fraudulent government. He then talks about MAGA relics, specifically a particular flag that was flown at January 6th and was presented at a Glenn Youngkin rally in Richmond, Virginia. When the rally got underway, an American flag that the crowd was told a patriot had carried out the January 6th insurrection was brought to the front and raised on stage. Rally-goers then participated in the Pledge of Allegiance to what, in essence, became the January 6th American flag. It was impromptu ritual, but imbued with new and startling meaning. As the rally attenders pledged allegiance to the American flag, they also pledged allegiance to the nation that Trump's team, and the rioters tried to create during the failed coup. It had become a sacred object. For those pledging allegiance to the January 6th flag, the American flag, already a sacred object, had become more than an object of American patriotism. January 6th turned it into a symbol of a sacred battle and the holy mission of the MAGA Nation. The flag expanded into an object that manifests the stories that Trump's followers are living out, one in which an election is stolen and a group of Americans attempts to overthrow a fraudulent government. In the wake of temporary defeat, the flag reminds them, God's patriots continue the war by remembering the lives lost in battle and the righteous cause for which they fight. Myths root themselves in the public imagination when they become accepted knowledge that most people refuse to investigate. When a story rises to the level of everyone knows that, then it is a myth that exists in the public consciousness. It is a shared reality, a foundation of the world in which people live and navigate. January 6th could have been the end of the MAGA Nation's role in the story of American politics if they had resisted. Any of the politicians and pundits and media, if any of them had resisted it. But instead, we already know how Republicans are dealing with Trump's legacy. He remains the leader of the party. The big lie is the foundation of the MAGA movement, and January 6th is viewed as the first battle in the war for the country. The question is not if there will be another attack on our democracy. The question is when.